Rank the issues below in order of importance, 1 through 7. Then tell us why you find the most important issue so critical. Well, let's see, we have U.S. foreign relations, Afghanistan and Pakistan, which is kind of U.S. foreign relations, healthcare reform, economic recovery, which healthcare reform would be related to. Economic recovery would also be related to U.S. foreign relations and Afghanistan and Pakistan. Climate change is again related to foreign relations. LGBT rights, that's important. Education reform is related to economic recovery. So I say 1 for all of these. For the most part, all of these issues are interrelated. Afghanistan and Pakistan, economic recovery, U.S. foreign relations are all tied together. U.S. foreign relations, climate change, healthcare reform, education reform, and economic recovery are all tied together under economic recovery. The only one that really isn't connected in there is LGBT rights, but that's also one because it's just such a fundamental constitutional thing. It's really a question of human rights. It seems like such a no-brainer. Now, our U.S. foreign policy is unsustainable. Our economic ties to countries with deplorable human rights records are also causing the very trade imbalances which are causing our economy to falter. Our factories have all moved overseas to places that have very little environmental regulation, very little labor laws, if any, very few consumer protection laws, etc., etc. So while on the retail end we're getting cheaper and cheaper things, we have fewer and fewer jobs with which to buy those things. And at the same time, the world is getting more and more polluted because the factories that are making these things that are becoming cheaper and cheaper are able to externalize the cost of dealing with their pollution. As a result, with the world becoming more and more polluted, people are learning to hate brand America, which is related to terrorism, which is related to Afghanistan and Pakistan, which is related to U.S. foreign relations. And since the economy in the United States has gone almost entirely to retail, it's impossible to sustain. Our illegal and immoral wars around the globe have consequences, both in terms of blowback and in terms of fiscal deficit. We simply can't afford to sustain our global empire any longer, especially with the heart of our industry moved overseas, bringing all taxable income with it. This shifts the burden of taxes on the working class. Most bankruptcies in the United States are caused by medical debt. Those businesses that actually provide healthcare for their employees have to pay as much as 50% of their overhead operating costs into just premiums for health insurance plans. Not in labor costs, not in raw materials, but in healthcare premiums. If we want to revitalize industry, end medical debt, and prevent people from losing their homes, prevent people from having to default on loans they've taken out, and save our economy, we need single-payer, not-for-profit healthcare. What got you interested in politics? I've always been interested in politics ever since I was a little kid. When I was in middle school, our town council refused to raise property taxes to pay for the increasing costs of operating our school. As a result, our school was having to cut just about everything. We had cut our art program entirely. We lost our music program. We were going to lose gym. And with budget projections, we were actually going to have to look at shutting down our school 1 day a week, every other week. And things were only going to get worse as time went on. People in the town got together and started organizing. They started holding meetings, and they started showing up to town council meetings. Now, we demanded that they increase property taxes in order to cover the increasing costs of operating our school. One of the town councilors said, "Why do you care? No rocket scientist is ever going to graduate from here." Now, these low expectations are exactly what's wrong with politics today. Not just in local politics, but in the nation over. People expect too little, both from their institutions and from their elected representatives. And as such, they let them decay and become the worst that they possibly can be without doing anything about it. The idea that things are always going to be bad, so why bother doing anything? Apathy. Now, my mother had an idea which I thought was pretty brilliant. The next meeting, kids of those who were going to the town council to demand an increase in property taxes showed up wearing t-shirts saying, "Future rocket scientist." We won that battle and we saved our school. In that moment, I realized that people not only can, but that we must take control over the affairs of government. It's not a luxury, it's a responsibility. How do you involve yourself in politics? By voting, supporting candidates, etc.? I've lobbied, I've protested, I have a show on YouTube where I'm like a political pundit. I worked as an intern for Dennis Kucinich's presidential campaign in 2008. I did some consulting for Cindy Sheehan for Congress, and I did some consulting for Reverend Billy for mayor of New York City. If I hadn't have been going to school full time, I would have dropped everything and gone to San Francisco and New York City both, and helped out on the ground as well. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how would you rate President Obama's performance, and why? I didn't actually write down a response for this. So far, I would say 3. I mean, with 1 being George W. Bush or Rutherford B. Hayes. I don't think a whole lot has improved. It's been good. Recently, there's some new laws that have come through from the EPA, which is basically that the EPA made recommendations they made during the Bush administration. They made the same recommendations again. Now they're actually being implemented. So that's good. In my state of Maine, we've always had higher standards than the national EPA, so we're not really being affected by these new standards. A lot of other states that have been extremely lax with their state EPAs are going to be affected, and I think that's good. They'll have to come into compliance, and the state of Maine will no longer be used as a tailpipe for the rest of the pollution for the United States. Otherwise, not a whole lot has changed since the Bush administration. There's new people. It's the same stuff. Guantanamo's still open. We still don't have habeas corpus back. I mean, just go down the list of everything you hate about George Bush. We still have it. Do you feel Obama deserved the Nobel Peace Prize? I'm going to answer with the Zen answer of moo. So look, it's a peace prize, so the real question is, does he deserve recognition for his work towards achieving peace? No. No, he doesn't. The guy not only voted repeatedly to fund the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq while he was a senator, not only did he vote to make the illegal NSA wiretapping legal, not only did he vote for the Military Commissions Act, which overturned habeas corpus, but he's currently escalating the war in Afghanistan. What's more, he hasn't even been president for a year. But you have to put this in perspective. Adolf Hitler was also nominated for the Peace Prize, and so is Stalin. Mohandas Gandhi? Never was. Go figure. Now, I'm not saying that Obama is a Stalin or a Hitler, I'm just saying that the Peace Prize isn't worth anything. Finally, tell us about the groups you host on Current. I host a few groups and I don't do nearly enough with them. Other group leaders are great, like Jan Fergore, who does video things. I just don't have the time or really the ability to do that. I don't have any video equipment of my own, so I do all of my stuff on other people's computers with other people's cameras. The video here is going to take me several days to make. The groups that I run. U.S. Congress Watch. This group is for all you C-SPAN junkies like myself who realize that the president has no legislative power and want to know what's going on in Congress, who does have legislative power. I think the more informed we are about what's actually going on in Congress, the better a nation will be. Keep your eyes on the Congress and keep their feet to the fire. Healthcare. I started up the group Healthcare to cover the topic of healthcare reform because it's my #1 burning issue. I support H.R. 676, Medicare for All. That bill doesn't have any legs currently because Congress is extremely corrupt. And both sides of the aisle have made the healthcare reform debate into a circus show, where the Dems want to screw us over in new ways and the Republicans want to keep us getting screwed over in the old-fashioned ways. Green Party. For those who are liberal, progressive, left of center, socialist, and seek an alternative to the Democratic Party. The Green Party-related news goes here. Wall Street. I started this group up with the same idea about Congress Watch. The people in Wall Street are dangerous, and you need to keep your eyes on them. Pay attention to what they're doing. Punk Patriot. Now this is my stupid little pundit show. If you join this group, new episodes will appear here in your weekly email. I'm currently on break from doing this show because I have a lot of stuff in my personal life that I gotta take care of. I don't really have time or money to do it right now. And it does take a lot of time to do it. But the Punk Patriot will be back. Current Republicans. Nobody started a Current Republicans group here on Current, and even though I know for a fact that there are plenty of people who are Republicans here, they haven't bothered to start up a group. So this group is for them.